Talk Shop, and I wanted to walk you through a recent case I reviewed for one of our clients, and just kind of give you an example of what you can expect. This client had particularly feisty test results, I would say, that we don't always see. So I thought this would be a good example. So this is the first test. This is the Mycotox profile from Great Plains Lab, and it's a urine test. So it's testing for the toxins produced by various toxic strains of mold. It's a pretty short test. It just kind of hits the highlights of some of the biggest offenders in the home. So this woman, you can see that her level is way out of range for mycophenolic acid. So it should be under 37, and she's at 1,364. So I like to give this kind of example because some people see themselves at like 40 and they freak out, but actually that's not that bad. But this is pretty bad. And this really indicates to me that she's kind of a combo of a poor detoxifier and or really overloaded with mold. And in this case, she's not currently in a house with mold anymore. It's actually been a while, and her level is still this high. So she's a poor detoxifier, and she kind of knows about some of that. And another thing to point out here is, well, she had some mold blood testing. She had never had this test before. So maybe this number used to be 2,500, but we don't know because we don't have a baseline test. So on page 2, she has one more thing that's high, this citrinin, which is multiple mold species produce this particular toxin. So it's not real specific, but she was, almost twice out of range on that. So one thing we can watch with these tests is if levels are coming down, and if they're sky high or just kind of medium. And then I just hear more about the case and, kind of what the history is and all that. So this woman thankfully also ran the organic acids test, and I really, really encourage that because you're going to see why in a minute here. When you have mold, and if you're running this test, the odds are pretty good you have it because you know enough to run this test. It's going to disrupt other things in your body, right? It's already done that job. So I really would prefer to see what else it's done. So for this particular woman, this first section is about yeasts, including Candida. It'll also show you a little mold colonization in the gut. That's here in red. So she had a couple marker, like one marker of like kind of yeast in the gut high, and then again a very high marker of arabinose. This is the most common marker I see for Candida, but hers was, very high, way out of range. Little teensy tiny, over range for Clostridia bacteria here. On page 3, this is page 3 actually, she's probably the worst I've seen with oxalates. So this is a metabolite you may have heard of because oxalates are in foods like spinach. And there's a lot of talk about, lower the oxalates in your diet, that I think is kind of wrong, because really where all these oxalates are coming from are from her molds and candidas, the byproduct of those. So she's not feeling any particular symptom that relates to oxalates, like ice pick pain in her muscles, or vaginal pain or urinary pain. So we're just going to work on lowering her molds and yeast and not really focus on the oxalates. But sometimes when these reduce, they can kind of come out quickly and cause some problems, but I haven't seen that yet. She's got a few mitochondrial markers off. Toxic mold can very much disrupt your mitochondria, so I'm not going to get into these too much, but she had a few of them. There's a little bit of information on neurotransmitters here, and sometimes it just suggests more that the bacteria is present or that kind of a thing. She's a regular faster. She fasts every day, so She might be driving up some ketones here, and other people are on a ketogenic diet, and we can see that here. She's doing like IV supplementation, and it's helping her a lot, and ozone therapy. So she's actually not feeling that bad. Besides, if you look at this, you'd think she would be, but so she was actually high in some vitamins from all the supplementing she's doing, but just a little low in like one of them. And sometimes here what high means low. So this metabolite of glutathione being high actually means she needs more glutathione, even though she does a coffee enema every day. So she's just a person who probably genetically has a hard time recycling glutathione, clearing toxins. So even though she's out of a moldy house, her body is still really struggling to clear things out. So that's kind of the high points of this test. And again, you can kind of get a sense that if you are living with mold, it's nice to get the baseline on these mycotoxins where you're at now, so we can retest after you've worked on doing sauna and all the things. And then it's really fantastic to have this organic acids test so that we can work on addressing candida, supporting mitochondrial health, that kind of thing, and help you on your way.